with him in person. I was not able to obtain his signature on the family plan of service that I prepared prior to the case transfer. I don't know whether Ms. Powell was ever to obtain his signature or not.
Did you continue to try to engage Mr. Martin while you were the caseworker over those 7 months?
Yes.
Did Mr. Martin ever engage in any services while you were the caseworker?
No.
You also mentioned part of your duties were to supervise parent-child visits, correct?
Yes.
Did you supervise any parent-child visits between the mother and her children?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember if you had any concerns at those visits?
My primary concern at the time was the logistics. We were taking the children to meet halfway, I think in Junction. We did a visit or two, maybe in San Angelo, a visit or two. So the logistics was the primary concern. Miss Bushman typically brought someone with her. Initially, because she was still in treatment, she couldn't leave the facility alone. So a case manager or a friend would be coming with her. I think usually it was her case manager or her recovery coach that was driving her. So she had to have at least one person, but I can think a couple of visits, at least one other additional person came. And Miss Bushman seemed worried about managing the two babies by herself with feeding them and diapering, etc. during a visit, if it was just her.
And how many visits were you able to supervise, if you recall?
I'm sorry, Miss Swallow. I don't recall. I know we were at a park in Junction for a couple of hours one day. We went to a barbecue place another day, a church. So I guess at least 3 in Junction for a couple of hours when she was able to participate in visits there.
Did you, at these visits, did Miss Bushman ever bring any supplies?
Yes.
And did you ever have any concerns with regards to how Miss Bushman was treating the children?
No.
Okay. Generally, in a case when one parent engages in services to address substance abuse and the other parent doesn't, but they remain a couple, what happens?
The parent who is not participating in services can impact the parent who is participating in services ability to be a viable family reunification option, because you can't just have one half of the equation addressing the services and the other half not.
Is it possible for a parent to complete the services on the service plan but not implement the that knowledge into their daily life?
Yes.
And at that point in time, when that happens, do you still consider the individual compliant with their service plan?
No.
Do you know if mental health was an issue for Ms. Bushman?
I seem to recall that she may have been diagnosed with something when she was younger, maybe something like post-traumatic stress disorder. I know she had a rough childhood growing up. I don't recall specifically what she was diagnosed with as far as mental health. I'm sorry.
Did Mr. Martin ever provide any sort of support for the children while you were the caseworker?
Mr. Martin? No.
Yes. Did he, in the times where you were contacting him, did he ever inquire as to how the children were doing?
It's been a while since I spoke with him. Sorry, I don't specifically recall, Miss Waller.
Did he ever request wanting to see the twins?
He was just struggling to get to meet with me, so I don't think we ever got that far.
Did he ever send any lettings or drawings or anything to the children that you remember?
No.
That's all I have. Thank you, Ms. Nix.
Ms. Savage. Yes, Ms. Nix. While you had the case, would you consider Ms. Bushman as cooperative and compliant in her services?
Yes,
And actually, at the initial compliance hearing, she was found to be in compliance by the court. Is that correct?
yes,
And this case went legal in January, and by early February, Ms. Bushman had entered inpatient treatment.
yes.
Okay. So during your time handling the case, your goal as the case manager or the caseworker was reunification of the twins with their mother.
Yes, it was reunification all the way up until the time of the case transfer.
Okay. And while you had the case, you never received any reports of Mr. Martin either going to the inpatient facility or going to Miss Bushman's sober living homes?
No, there was no reports of any of that.
Okay. And during that time, Miss Bushman was reporting to you that they were not together. She was focusing on her sobriety.
Yes,
Okay. And you had no reason to believe that wasn't true.
I did not have any reason to believe she was involved with Mr. Martin.
Okay. And as a CPS worker, legal worker, it is the goal of the department to work with parents to try to get the children back home. Is that correct?
Yes, as long as that's a viable goal, we are required to do that. Yes.
Okay. And so if you have a parent who's completed all their services and has remained sober for over a year, as a caseworker, you would support reunification of the kids to that parent.
Yes, I would.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Pearsall,
No questions.
Ms. Harris,
I have no questions for this witness, Judge.
redirect.
No, Judge, thank you.
May Ms. Nix be excused.
Yes, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I
Mr.
was skipped, but I did not
I'm
have
so
questions.
sorry,
It's
Ms.
okay.
Price.
I just wanted to make sure it was known that I was skipped. No, I'm kidding. But I have no questions for Ms. Nix. And yes, if she could please be excused.
Okay, I do apologize. All right, Ms. Nix, thank you for your time and your testimony. You are free to go, and I will remove you now.
Thank you.
Next witness,
Thank you, Judge. I would like to call my client, Mr. Tristan Ford.
all right, Mr. Ford, I remind you that you're under oath. And as you've seen this morning, Ms. Swallow is going to ask you some questions, and then there will be some cross-examination after. And I don't think I need to worry about this, but I want to make sure you understand the two of you are in the same room together, but you can't help each other with questions. So if you don't know the answer to something, for instance, Ms. Ford can't whisper it to you or vice versa. You just have to answer it to you the best of your knowledge, okay?
Understood.
All right, thank you. Ms. Swallow, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Mr. Ford. Could you state your full name for the record?
Tristan Ford.
And Mr. Ford, how are you familiar with this case?
I've been the foster parent for the children since January, and then when they came back into care in December.
Okay, could you give me years on that?
January of 2023, and then December of 2023 till present.
Okay, so from the date that they were removed to the time that they were placed with their mom, and then when they were removed to present day.
Correct.
What is your understanding of the twins' medical conditions?
So I know that they were diagnosed with chronic lung disease, dysphagia. And, that's it.
Okay, and what is it that you do to address the chronic lung disease?
It's really an environmental exposure, but the dysphagia also helps manage the chronic lung disease. So as far as the chronic lung disease, it's really, they go hand in hand. So as far as speech therapy, making sure they're swallowing properly helps with that, but also making sure that they're not exposed to any smoke, dust, environmental particles that could affect their lungs.
And what happens, if you know, when they are exposed to like smoke or dust or something in the environment?
It's an attack on their lungs, and it could cause problems long term. It could cause long term problems. Chronic lung disease is a broader based diagnosis, so it could result in asthma, COPD, things like that in the future.
And do you know the cause of the chronic lung disease? If you don't know, just say you don't know.
I do not know.
Okay. Are they seeing a pulmonologist?
Yes.
And how often do they see that pulmonologist?
They see the pulmonologist every few months. I know they're going to have another pulmonology appointment here right around in November. They're not scheduled yet, but they will be able to have one in November.
Okay. And what happens at these appointments? Do you know?
The pulmonologist speaks to us, catches up on how the kids are doing. He listens to their lungs, checks on breathing, things like that.
Is he in communication with the speech pathologist?
I do not believe so.
Do you know if the speech pathologist reviews the records from the pulmonologist?
I believe she does. Any records that we would give her, she would most likely review.
Okay. What do you do to address the swallowing disorder, the dysphagia, if anything?
We follow the orders of the swallow study. We follow the orders of the speech therapist. We thicken their liquids. So any liquids they receive have to be thickened to a specific consistency. We also are very aware of when they are around like liquid. So even in the bath, we make sure that they're not ingesting any water, because like the speech therapist said, anything that's not thickened can go down into their airways and cause aspiration.
Do the children have frequent ear infections?
Previously to them getting on the proper thickness, they do. But once the liquids were thickened properly, that seemed to help the reoccurring ear infections.
Have they been diagnosed with any other types of respiratory illnesses?
In the past, they have. When they get sick, they've come down with RSV, COVID, pneumonia, I believe bronchitis.
Are the
Hang on
children?
just a second. Ms. Bushman, are you talking to somebody else in the room with you? Okay, well, I need you to stop having reactions to every answer, okay? Just don't do that. Go ahead, Ms. Swallow. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ford, what about congestion and cough? Do the children have a chronic cough or congestion at all?
Yes. So they have a recurring prescription for albuterol to help with any coughing, congestion. But when you continue to manage the dysphagia and the chronic lung disease, it helps with the coughing and congestion.
And is that the same as the nebulizer treatments?
Yes. So the albuterol is what goes into the nebulizer. So yes, it's.
And how often do you give those to the children?
It's as needed.
Okay. And so currently, now that they are receiving the treatment that they're receiving, is it more or less frequent from when they were not receiving the treatment?
Less frequent.
Did either of the children have to be hospitalized due to the RSV?
Yes, both children were hospitalized.
What was the condition of the children when they were returned to your care in December of 2023?
So Jameson had some constipation, double ear infection, and after drinking some bottles, he was spitting up a lot. And then for Jasmine, she had constipation. She was spitting up as well. She also had a double ear infection. And when we took her to our primary care doctor, she was diagnosed with a yeast infection.
Okay. And so immediately upon return to your care, you took them to the doctor to address all these issues.
Correct.
Did they have to be put on medications?
Yes, for the ear infections, they were put on medications. Jasmine was put on a topical medication for the yeast infection.
Strike that. Have you observed Miss Bushman's vehicle?
I have not.
So you do not know whether or not she has a car seat for the children?
I believe the car seats being used currently are Miss Bushman's, but I believe the department has those in their possession.
So you can't strike that. Mr. Ford, this is a question that has come up frequently throughout this case, so I'm just going to go ahead and get out there and ask you. Why did it take you and Miss Ford so long to intervene?
When the children went back to Miss Bushman in October, we were no longer privy to the case. We would watch court cases on YouTube to keep involved in the case, but we had no contact with the department. We saw the children for their birthday, but other than that, we had no contact with anybody. We fully thought that the children were going to be reunited, and the case would be closed. When the children came back into care in December, we waited up until the first court date to find out what was happening in the case before we decided to intervene.
And that's when you contacted me?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you, when the children were returned to your care in December 2023, what was your level of communication with Miss Onapal?
It was right around the holiday time, so it was very limited. But I mean, we talk not as frequently as maybe I would like, but I mean.
Let me rephrase that, Mr. Ford. From the time period when the children were returned to you, when they came back into your care, December 2023, up until you intervened, March 2024, do you believe you had constant, frequent, effective communication with Ms. Powell?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you attempt to communicate with her and she was non-responsive, if you remember?
Yes.
And how did you address that?
I believe we addressed it with the children's ad litem and CASA. We brought it up to them.
Okay. And were there any changes made?
She has been better about communication.
As of when?
I couldn't give you an exact date.
Okay. Has Miss Powell ever walked through your home?
She's been inside the main living area to receive the children or drop the children off.
Has she ever gone to see where the children sleep?
I do not believe so.
Has she ever gone to see where the children bathe?
I don't believe so.
Has she ever gone into your kitchen and looked through your supplies, your food, or your diapers, or anything like that?
She's looked in the fridge one time.
Okay. Do the twins have any upcoming medical appointments?
They will have upcoming medical appointments. They'll have a repeat swallow study soon. They will have, in November, they'll have a 2-year well check. They'll have a developmental checkup, and then they will both see pulmonology and GI. Those two are not scheduled due to their scheduling not going out that far. GI and pulmonology will reach out when the time gets closer.
Right. What about dental?
They should have a dental appointment. I believe those are every 3 months. So there should be one coming up shortly.
These appointments are in addition to their 2 times weekly speech.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I pass the witness.
Ms. Price.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Ford, I'm sorry, you said that their upcoming appointments with their specialists are coming up in the fall. Is that correct?
Yes. Typically when, right now, I think it's when they're turning 2 years old, they're going to go back and see their specialist.
Okay. And if the court were to transition the children back to Ms. Bushman's care, would you be cooperative with that process?
Yes.
And if the court were to start transitioning the children back to Ms. Bushman's care, would you try to make sure that she had all of the information necessary to continue to care for the children and provide the care that they need?
Yes, we've done that in the past as well.
You mentioned that you saw the children on their birthday. When is their birthday?
November 9th.
And at that time, the children were in Miss Bushman's care?
Correct. We saw them a week after their birthday. Like to clarify, they had hand, foot, and mouth around that time. So we delayed our visit up until they were better.
And who arranged for you to be able to see the children on their birthday?
My wife and Miss Bushman were in communication.
So that wasn't something that Belong required or that the court ordered. That was something that Miss Bushman agreed to?
Yes.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Ms. Savage.
Yes, Mr. Ford. When were the twins placed back in your home in December? Do you remember the date?
The December 22nd.
Okay. And you're aware that the caseworker did take them to see a medical professional December 22nd following picking them up from Miss Bushman?
Yes, a medical professional came and saw them at the shelter.
Okay. And at that examination, no double ear infections were noted in either child on December 22nd, correct?
I do not believe so, no.
Okay. The double ear infection wasn't diagnosed until December 27th, after the children had been in your care for 5 days, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you'd agree with me, winter times, you know, kids get sick, flu season.
I can agree to that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The ear infections are caused by swallowing issues.
But again, the children didn't have ear infections on the 22nd.
Not on the 22nd.
You testified kids left in October. Did you and your wife get another child placed into your home after the twins left?
Objection relevance.
Your Honor, this goes to the best interest. We've dragged out all of Miss Bushman's parental decisions, and I think the court is entitled to know some of the decisions made by the Fords.
Overruled. All out.
You can
You
answer,
can answer
Mr.
the
Ford.
question.
Yes, we had another child placed in our home.
When was that child placed in your home, if you recall?
I believe in November.
Okay. And when you got the call that the twins were needing placement, originally your licensing agency was not going to allow you to take them. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you and your wife gave notice on that baby and had that baby removed from your home?
Correct.
Okay. And actually, you dropped your license in order to get the twins. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you put one infant child onto the street in order to take these two twins. Correct?
Objection, argumentative, speculation, relevance.
Your Honor, we have foster parents all the time give notice on children, and children end up back in foster care.
And sidebar, she says they put the kid on the street.
I'll sustain as to the sidebar. Let's just watch that, Ms. Savage.
Okay. Mr. Ford, you did have that child leave your home, though?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know the twins' level of care?
At the moment, I believe it's basic. I believe they're trying to get it up to moderate.
Okay. And how long have you been a licensed foster parent? Not since regaining your license, but when you and your wife originally got licensed.
2 years.
Okay. So you're aware you get more financial assistance if the children's level of care goes up?
I am aware of that.
How much money do you receive currently for having these twins in your home?
Currently, we receive, I believe it's $800 a
Per
month.
twin?
No, total.
And do you and your wife pay, or do the children go to daycare?
Yes, they do.
Okay. And do you and your wife pay for that out of pocket, or does the state cover that?
The state covers it.
Do you have any other governmental assistance that help you support these children?
They receive the thickening agent from a pharmaceutical or some sort of medical company that provides that kind of stuff.
Oh, I'll clarify. I meant like food stamps or WIC or anything of that sort.
They were on WIC, but not, I guess they're still on WIC.
Okay, so you and your wife are able to collect WIC benefits for these children?
We have not collected recently, but they still are on it.
When was the last time you guys were able to get those benefits?
I do not recall the date.
Okay. But per your home study, you and your wife's combined income is almost $7,000 a month?
I suppose, I guess so.
Not including the subsidy benefits you're receiving for the twins, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Ford, did you or your wife or an agent of you report Ms. Bushman to the Housing Authority to subject her to possibly losing her housing? And you are under oath. It is perjury to lie under oath, Class B misdemeanor. So think about your answer before you give it to us.
Objection, relevance.
I think this court should know who they might be sending these children home to and the links that they went to if they did it. Just ask him if he did it or his agent.
Judge, I don't think it's relevant.
Overruled.
Mr. Ford,
Can you repeat the question?
did you, your wife, or an agent you employ, so someone who represents you in any capacity, call San Angelo Housing Authority to report Ms. Bushman so she would be subject to losing her housing assistance?
And Judge, I'm also going to object to the attorney-client privilege. If any communications I've had with my clients, they're not to disclose that.
Okay, well, I'll give an instruction that he can answer the question, but if it involves any privileged information between the Fords and Ms. Swallow, then he is entitled to maintain that privilege. He does not have to vitiate it.
You don't have to tell us what you and your attorney talked about.
I have never asked anybody to specifically report Ms. Bushman.
Okay. And you did not make the call.
No, I have not.
Okay. And to your knowledge, your wife did not.
She is not.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Pearsall,
No questions.
Ms. Harris,
Did you attempt to keep the other child in your home when you found out that Jasmine and Jameson were needing a placement again in December?
Yes.
Why did you ultimately have to put in notice?
There was a misrepresentation on our part with Divinity.
Okay. Did anybody tell you that you could not have Jasmine and Jameson and the other foster child in your home?
Yes, Divinity did.
And did you attempt to work with them to be able to make that work?
Yes, we did.
And was any sort of solution ultimately provided to you?
Divinity did not offer us any solution to the problems that were being brought up.
And was it solely due to the amount of children that would be in the home under the age of 3?
Correct.
Did you want to put in notice on the foster child?
No, we did not.
Did you go some time without receiving assistance, financial assistance for the children due
Yes.
to dropping your license?
Yes.
Are you financially motivated to seek adoption of Jasmine and Jameson?
Not financially motivated, no.
What is your reason for seeking permanent placement of the children with you?
We believe and would like the children to get the best possible care with doctors and therapists and continue the care that they are currently receiving.
Are you asking for the children to be permanently placed with you because Miss Bushman makes less money than you?
No.
Do you think that even if the children are placed with you, they should maintain some kind of relationship with Miss Bushman in the future?
Yes.
Do you feel like you've been cooperative in helping them maintain a relationship with her up to this point?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
redirect.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Ford, in regards to Jasmine's double ear infection, when she saw the doctor on December 22nd, 2023, were you present at that appointment?
I was not.
Do you know what symptoms were explained to the doctor?
No.
Do you know if he thoroughly examined her?
No.
So you don't know whether or not he missed the ear infection.
Correct.
Do you know where the foster child that you had, that you ultimately had to put notice on in your home, do you know where that child went?
After she left our home or currently?
After she left your home?
She went to another foster home
And do you know where she's currently at?
with her family.
Okay. You're currently licensed, correct?
Correct.
When did you renew your license?
it's the end of last month, I believe, a few weeks ago.
So June or beginning of July.
Correct.
Okay. And that $800 a month subsidy that you just testified to, when did that start?
For a while, it was only 400 because there were some issues with payments, but I think it would have been maybe March when we first started receiving payments.
Okay, and was that due to your licensing, or was that due to the children being placed with you in as a kinship home?
It was due to them being placed with us as a kinship home.
Okay. And have you ever sought out medical financial assistance to care for these children?
No, I don't know if I understand the question fully.
Have you ever pressured the department or sought to be licensed so that you could receive more financial assistance?
No.
Are you bonded to Jameson and Jasmine?
I'd say so, yes.
And are they speaking?
A few words, yes. I mean, they're 19 months old, so they're beginning to speak.
What do they refer to you as?
Dad. Or
Objection,
dad.
hearsay.
Judge, talking about the children in this case and their bond with this family and what they refer to them as.
Is
Oh.
hearsay.
Well, I'm going to allow it. Overruled.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ford, could you repeat yourself?
Dad or dad.
And what do they call Miss Ford?
Mom.
Hearsay, Your Honor.
Objection. Overruled.
And do you have other children in the home?
Yes.
And how old is that child?
4 months.
And do you believe that the twins are bonded to that baby?
Yes.
Are the twins bonded to each other?
Yes.
Have you seen any changes in the children's behavior after visits with the mother?
Yes.
Could you explain that to the court, please?
Typically after they come back from an in-person visit, they're a little bit more rambunctious. They can maybe they don't listen as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ford. I pass the witness.
Any recross?
No, Your Honor.
Just
One
very
question.
briefly.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Price.
Mr. Ford, you said that the children are more rambunctious when they come back from visits and they don't listen as well. How long does that last for?
Typically that afternoon.
And those visits take place in Junction. How far is that from Kerrville? You're in Kerrville?
Correct. It's
How,
about
how,
it's about an hour.
and if what is it that you are asking the court to do today?
I guess our affidavit is a termination. I'm
And
not.
Judge, I object to asking my client like legalese and legally what's going to happen today. I can represent to the court exactly our position, which I've done from the very beginning.
I didn't ask for legalese, Your Honor. I just asked what they're asking the court for. And he began to answer in perfect English.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Yeah, I heard him too. It was English.
But it wasn't legalese.
Your Honor, I object to the sidebar.
All right, let's watch the sidebar. I'm going to allow him to answer the question. Overruled. You can answer the question, Ms. Ford.
I guess it would be termination.
And that's because you want to adopt the children?
If possible, yes.
And if the court has other options available, legally speaking, are you open to those?
Speculation.
I don't think asking him if he's open to other options is speculation. Overruled.
And I guess, Mr. Ford, while the judge overruled the objection, let me ask a different way. Are you aware of other options that may be available other than termination of the parents, the biological parents' rights and adoption? Are you aware of any other options in this case?
I've spoke to my attorney about options. I don't know which ones would be a viable option in this particular case.
And I'm definitely not asking you to discuss any conversations you've had with your attorney. I just want to make that clear. If there was an option in which the court appointed you and your wife as essentially that the children were in your legal custody and that Ms. Bushman had visitation rights, would you be open to something like that?
Be open to discussion, yes.
And if that option meant that you may not get any financial assistance for the children in terms of foster care subsidy payments or daycare assistance or anything of that nature, is that something you would still be willing to consider?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Any other recross?
Yes, Judge, I had one last question.
I do as well, Judge.
Who did? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Ms. Harris.
The other child that's in the home, is that a foster child or is it your biological child?
A biological child.
I'll pass, Your Honor.
Ms. Swallow.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Ford, you understand that these cases cannot go on forever, correct?
Correct.
And that the laws of Texas mandate that we have to give these children permanency.
Correct.
And this case is coming on almost 2 years, correct?
Correct.
So at this point in time, it's necessary for the court to make a decision as to the permanency of these children.
Yes.
Thank you. I pass the witness.
Any other questions for Mr. Ford?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Let's take a 30-minute recess for lunch. It's noon. Ms. Swallow, who are you calling next?
Judge, I think that's it.
You don't have any other witnesses?
I don't think so.
Okay, well then my mistake. Does anybody else have witnesses they intend to call?
Your
Just-
Honor, oh, good.
Just briefly, I have I'm sorry, let me look at I'm on the wrong page. The courtesy worker, Misty Martinez, and then to briefly recall Miss Ferguson regarding the most recent visit.
And
Okay.
can I ask that we maybe take like a 10-minute break and then just keep going?
That's fine with me. I thought we had several more witnesses after lunch. Miss Savage, what about you?
I just have Miss Potts and and the counselor from the rehab. Honestly, I think both of them can be done within 30 minutes, even with all the cross.
10 minutes enough for everybody here?
I'm going to ask for 15, Judge.
All right, I think we can stretch it another 5. All right, it's 12. Let's take 15 minutes. Actually, we've been talking a little bit, so let's say 12, 16-ish. Everybody make your way back. I'm just going to leave everything open, so I'll see you all then. Court's in recess.
Your Honor,
Thank
can you just send a broadcast message for the witnesses?
Yes, I will. All right. Miss Swallow, are you resting?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Miss Hyman, are you ready to go?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So interveners have rested. And I think before we get into Miss Savage's witnesses, Miss Price said the department wanted to recall a witness.
Yes, Miss Jennifer Ferguson?
All right. Is there any objection to the court hearing the recall witnesses of the department prior to hearing from Miss Savage's witnesses?
No
No,
objection.
No, Your Honor.
All right, then that's how we'll proceed. Miss Ferguson, you said?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'll bring her in now.
Your Honor, she said she had gotten kicked out, but she's trying to get back on.
Okay, well, I had her in the waiting room, so it appears that she's here, but she's not here.
She's Schrodinger's witness. I don't know if anybody else gets that very nerdy reference there.
Well, apparently I'm a nerd too then, because I picked up on it. Miss Ferguson, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there she is. All right. I want to remind you that you're under oath. Miss Price is going to ask you some questions, and the other attorneys will have the opportunity to cross-examine you. And please speak clearly and loudly as we are recording this. If you hear an objection, please stop talking until I can rule on the objection, okay?
Yes.
Are you able to turn on video, or do you not have that capability?
I am driving. I'm trying to find a safe place to pull over. That way I can do that. I apologize.
That's no problem. Are you comfortable answering questions on the phone until you can pull over?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Price, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that, Judge.
Okay, you may proceed.
Ms. Ferguson, did you have the opportunity to observe a parent-child visit between Ms. Bushman and the twins since our last court hearing?
I'm sorry, the call broke up.
Yes, I'll repeat the question. Did you have the opportunity to supervise a parent-child visit between Ms. Bushman and the children since our last court hearing?
Yes, ma'am, on Tuesday.
And where did that visit take place?
At Lum's Barbecue in Junction.
And how did that visit go overall?
Well,
I'm sorry, did you say it went well, or did you say well because you were going to like put a comma and continue talking?
it went well. I'm sorry, I just pulled over. That way I've not mobile reception.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So for the record, you are pulled over now?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So the visit went well. Can you tell me how long was the visit for?
It was a 2-hour visit.
And can you just give a quick description of the visit?
We met at Lum's Barbecue, and Miss Bushman was a few minutes late. She did advise of the traffic situation. She purchased the children lunch. She brought toys, diapers. She was attentive to the children. There was one incident where, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You were saying there was an incident?
There was one that Jasmine had, she was trying to chew a piece of sausage that Miss Bushman had given her and had choked on it a little bit, and there was another MCA there with me, and he was sitting closest to Jasmine, so he did remove the sausage from her mouth. But other than that, there was no incident.
at the last hearing that you testified at, do you recall testifying to a number of concerns about Ms. Bushman's ability to care for the children?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you observe those same behaviors in this past visit?
No, she was very attentive to the children.
And I lost my train of thought. I apologize. And overall, what were the things that you observed that led you to the conclusion that the visit went well? What specific things did you observe?
She was playing with the children when Jameson had fallen down. She was quick to be attentive to pick him back up, help him back to a standing position. She did bring her double stroller. She had left it in the car originally, but did go out to the car and get it and bring it in to use it to be able to take the children with her to order their meal. She brought Pampers. She was very aware of her surroundings and attentive.
And is there anything else about the visit that you think it would be important for the court to be made aware of at this time that I haven't already asked you about?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Savage,
No questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Pearsall,
No questions.
Ms. Harris.
Thank you, Judge. Is there a patio at the restaurant?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Miss Bushman take the children outside to play on the patio?
No, ma'am.
Did she ask you?
No, ma'am.
What toys did she bring to the visit?
Mr. Potato Head.
Anything else?
Not that I saw. She might have had other toys with her.
Did she decide to go out and get the double stroller, or was she prompted to do that by somebody supervising?
I prompted her.
And were there any diaper changes during the visit?
Yes. 2.
And did she do any of those on her own?
She was escorted by the first diaper change by the courtesy worker, Miss Martinez. And the second diaper change, you were at the visit and went into the restroom with her as well. The second time, she used the double stroller to bring the children into the restroom. The first time...
Did she use it on the first time? Did she use the double stroller the first time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Judge.
Any other questions for this witness?
Judge, I have a question.
Go ahead, Ms. Wallen.
Thank you. Ms. Ferguson, how many people from the department were present at this visit?
Myself from Belong, another mobile case aide, Mr. Trotter, and the courtesy worker, Misty Martinez, I believe, and Miss Harris.
Great. So from Belong in the department, 3 people?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that normal to have 3 people supervise a visit?
No, ma'am.
Why were there 3 people there?
I requested to have a second MCA attend the visit with me.
Why?
To be more comfortable because of the testimony that I had concern that Miss Bushman might be confrontational or want to discuss testimony in her case.
Did she try to do that?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. I pass the witness.
Any
Your
other
Honor,
questions?
Yes, just one follow-up. Miss Ferguson, what time was this visit held at?
12.
12 to 2?
Yes, ma'am.
And the temperature was at least in the 90 degrees. Would you agree with me?
Yes, ma'am. It was very humid. It had just rained.
So probably taking out children in hot temperatures who have lung conditions and the hot humidity is probably not a good idea. Would you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass witness.
Anyone else?
No.
May this witness be excused.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Ferguson, for your time and your testimony today. You are excused and free to go about your day, and I'll remove you from the hearing now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Didn't you have one more witness to recall, Ms. Price?
Your Honor, I was actually gonna be the one to call Miss Misty Martinez, and then I only have one more witness after that. So we're down to the last two.
And
That's correct,
Your,
Your Honor.
Your Honor, I will call CASA. I'm sorry I didn't get to bring that up before our break, but it will be short, I anticipate.
That's fine. All right, I'll bring Ms. Martinez in now. So with the recall witnesses, the department rests.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Savage, is your case.
Your Honor, oh, here comes Miss Martinez.
All right, Ms. Martinez, could you please unmute?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Savage is going to call you for some direct examination, and then you're going to have some cross-examination by the other attorneys. I want to remind you that you're still under oath. And if you hear anyone make an objection, please allow me to rule on the objection before you speak again. And make sure to speak loudly and clearly because we do have a court reporter. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Savage, your witness.
Miss Martinez, how are you employed?
I am a conservatorship worker with the Department of Family and Protective Services.
And you are out of the San Angelo area, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you the courtesy worker for Miss Tracy Bushman?
That's correct.
And how long have you had Tracy on your caseload?
I would say close to a year now.
And so during that time, how often had you been visiting with her or speaking with her?
I see her monthly. We speak probably weekly. When the kids were there, I saw them and her every other week.
So during this time that you've been visiting with her, have you had the opportunity to go and see Miss Bushman's residence?
Yes.
And is that residence appropriate?
It is.
Does she have baby furniture for the children?
She has beds for each. They have their own room. They share it. There's toys. There's a bathroom. She's got the locks on the cabinets and electrical outlets, things like that.
During your inspections of the home or visits to the home, have you ever seen anything like inappropriate, any kind of drug paraphernalia or alcohol or anything that would have given you any kind of concerns?
No, ma'am.
And you testified that when the children were with Tracy, you were seeing them at least every other week?
That's correct.
And when you visited with her and the kids, did the kids seem bonded to Tracy?
They did. I would come into the room. They'd be in the living room area. They'd walk or crawl. We're starting to walk. They would stay close to her, but they would go and play with toys, laugh. They'd look back to make sure she was there. It seemed very appropriately bonded.
Okay. And did you ever have any concerns for Tracy's care of the children during your visits with her and the kids?
No. She took care of medical, things like that. I know one time I went They had, I want to say it was the foot, hand, and mouth. But she had taken them to the doctor for that and was on top of it.
And did Tracy seem open and cooperative with the department? Any requests you may have made from her?
Yes, she seems very open and honest.
Okay. And have you had any reason to believe that Tracy has relapsed during the year you've had her on your caseload?
No.
Okay. Is it your opinion that the children should be returned to Tracy's care at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you believe returning them to Tracy, that she would have the ability to continue to meet their needs?
I believe so.
And while she did have the kids, as you testified, she was taken to the doctor. Were they also enrolled in daycare?
Yes, that's correct.
And if you have any knowledge about it, do you know if the kids had, or at least one of the children, been started in any kind of speech therapy while they were with Tracy?
I don't know about the speech therapy. I cannot recall that off the top of my head.
Okay. And to your knowledge, Tracy has maintained employment for at least the last 6 months?
Yes.
And she has appropriate transportation,
Yes.
a valid driver's license, and an insured vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Surprised.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Martinez, as the courtesy worker in the San Angelo area, would you be the one to assist Ms. Bushman if she needs help, like locating a daycare or providers, medical providers for the twins? Would you be able to assist in that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know whether there are speech language pathologist providers in the San Angelo area?
Yes, there are.
And would you be able, do you know whether she has started looking into providers for the children?
We've talked about if the kids were returned, that she needed to be on top of all of that.
And if the court were to return the children in a transition monitored return, and there was, say, 4 to 6 weeks before placement would take place, would that be sufficient time to get all the referrals in place so that the children can have a seamless transition to new providers?
I believe it would.
Okay. And is there anything else that the court can order that would help make a transition of the children back to Ms. Bushman's care more seamless, or to just promote that in any way?
I'm willing to go every week to see her and the children in person if that's what the judge wants me to do. I can do that.
And then are there any, other than getting them enrolled in daycare and with their new providers, is there anything else that Ms. Bushman would need to do to make sure that they're able to receive all the care there in San Angelo?
No, that probably covers it. If they do come back and she needs anything, a referral or something, she can contact me and I can help her find somebody local.
What are concrete services?
Those are services that we can ask payment for. They're once or twice services. It's not something that we can pay every month. But if she gets into a situation where she's like, hey, I'm stuck, I need to get this paid, or there's an issue like that, I can request that. And usually
so if she were to need any kind of like air filtration device for the children because of their lung issues, is that something Concrete Services could help with, or is that something that could be obtained through Medicaid?
That should be able to be obtained through Medicaid. And if not, we could always request it through Concrete Services.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your testimony, and I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Pearsall,
No questions.
Ms. Swallow,
Thank you, Judge. Miss Martinez, my name is Anna Swallow. I represent Tristan and Emily Ford. They're the foster parents to the children. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware of the children's medical conditions?
I know that the doctors, I think in San Antonio, had said something about some aspiration possibly going on with the kiddos. And I know that they were wearing a helmet, I guess for the shape of the head. I believe that's all I knew about.
Okay. Do you know whether or not they're receiving ongoing treatment for the dysphagia? That's the aspiration you were referring to.
I know that they are seeing somebody in San Antonio for that. And when they were with Tracy, she had them seeing somebody here, and that they take a thickener to help with that.
Are you aware of whether or not Tracy has had any positive drug tests this year?
She did tell me that she did a nail test, and it had come back positive at a low dose for, I believe, amphetamine or methamphetamine.
Okay.
But
Thank
she was
you.
very surprised about it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Martinez. I pass the witness.
Nurse.
When you would visit Miss Bushman with the children, where were those visits at?
Sarah's house.
So it was a residential living center
That's correct.
or a sober living center?
Correct.
And was Miss Bushman working during that time while the kids were with her?
I don't believe she was yet. I think she was looking for a job. She had to get them in daycare and all of that when they got placed. And then I think she was looking for work.
And were the kids in daycare?
Yes.
So the kids were in daycare, but she was not working, correct?
I think that's correct.
And you said you visited every other week?
Correct.
So how many times did you visit her with the children?
Well, I think they were only there maybe 2 months, so probably roughly 4 times.
So that's just
And
an
then we did
estimate.
it
You
some
don't
of
know
the-
for sure?
I'm sorry, say
Is
that
that just
again?
an estimate? You don't know for sure?
I didn't hear you.
Is that an estimate? You don't recall for sure how many times?
I would say 4 times at Sarah's house, and I've been to 2 visits in Junction.
And you said that you had discussed the hair follicle results with Miss Bushman, correct?
Yes.
And what was her explanation for why that would be positive?
When I made the home visit, she was very upset that had come back positive, and she had no idea why. She couldn't recall her exact date of last use. Was going to NA, so she's just, I mean, she was shocked.
And do you know why she was asked to leave the sober living home in December?
She had, I believe she was vaping or had a vape in the room with her.
Is that the only violation you're aware of?
Yes.
You're not aware of any other violations?
Not that I can recall off the top of my head.
Do you know what her work hours are like?
I think she works evenings right now at Schlotsky's.
And what is the plan if the children are returned to her?
I believe they're able to work with her schedule. If she can get the kids in daycare, then she should be able to move to days.
And have you spoken with her employers to find out if that's possible?
No, ma'am, I've not talked to them directly.
And as a courtesy worker, and this being a possible monitored return, are you able to visit the home with the children weekly?
Yes.
And why were the children not visited weekly when they were with her previously?
It was when we staffed, I was told go every other week.
And you were at the last visit?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the kids have a good time, you think?
Looked that way to me.
Do you think they had a good time, the children?
Yes.
Did they enjoy the visit? Okay. Did Miss Bushman order appropriate food for them?
I mean, I believe so. I know there was, Jasmine was eating some sausage and the casing, she kind of choked on it for a minute, and so she pulled that out. But I mean, I believe it's appropriate. The casing should have been taken off, but
And she provided drinks for the children?
yes,
And there was testimony that she had toys, correct?
that she had what?
Toys with her?
Yes.
And what toys did she have?
She had some Mr. Potato Head doll things where the kids can
And-
connect them and stuff like that.
Did she have a diaper bag with all the necessary supplies in it?
Yes.
And did she take the children to the restroom for diaper changes?
She did.
Did you accompany her on any of those?
On one, yes.
And did she take the children in the stroller?
The first one, no, because I offered to carry one of them for her in the bathroom, and then the second she did.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Redirect, Ms. Savage.
No, Your Honor.
Any other questions for Ms. Martinez?
No questions.
No questions.
All right, Ms. Martinez, you are excused. Thank you for your time and your testimony today. And I will
All right,
remove
thank
you
you,
from the
Judge.
hearing now. Thank you. Next witness, Ms. Savage.
Miss Chelsea Ashton, Your Honor.
Ms. Ashton, can you unmute for me, please?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Savage has called you as a witness. I want to remind you that you're under oath.
Yes, sir.
She's going to ask you some questions. The other attorneys will be given the opportunity to cross-examine you. If you hear anybody make an objection, please stop talking until I've had an opportunity to rule on the objection. And please speak loudly and clearly so that the court reporter can take down what you're saying, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Savage, you're with me.
Miss Ashton, how are you employed?
I am the clinical director and a licensed chemical dependency counselor with the Drug and Alcohol Awareness Center for the Concho Valley, the Journey Recovery Center.
Awesome. And how long have you been licensed as a drug counselor?
I have been fully licensed for about 2.5 years. I received my LCDCI status about 5.5, maybe 6 years ago.
Right. And how long have you been working at the Concho Valley or at the San Angelo Journey Recovery Center?
I've been at the Journey Recovery Center since we opened, but I've been with ADAC for 13 years.
Okay. So how do you know Tracy Bushman?
I was her primary counselor when she was here at the Journey Recovery Center for her inpatient treatment services.
Okay. And during her time at the inpatient facility, how often would you meet with Tracy?
So we would do a minimum of 1 hour of individual services per week, but I would often meet with her daily for at least a short period of time, and then also interact with her during group sessions, probably at least 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay. And during y'all's individual sessions, what were some topics that were covered?
I think that our main focus for Tracy from the time that she came in was on, of course, her meth use and the effect that that had on her life and her parenting, and then also on her mental health and making sure that we were engaging in mental health services to deal with her issues with depression.
Okay. And so because of the main focus being her meth use and the effects it had on her life, you guys did talk about her lengthy meth history and her prior CPS cases?
Yes, we spoke about all of those things. We talked about her interactions with her older kiddos and the interactions with CPS, about, the impact that it had on her ability to maintain custody in the past. Some of the feelings, I guess, that she has about, or had in the past about CPS and about, interacting in those processes. And really about how she uses or had used in the past substances in order to self-medicate, as opposed to seeking out mental health services.
And as part of her treatment, was Tracy able to identify some of her triggers and causes for previous relapses?
Yeah, absolutely. We were able to work through a lot of her relationship issues, sort of family related trauma, to look at a lot of self-esteem types of things. And again, there's a lot of internal and lifelong issues with depression that were an underlying note. And so once we were able to get her fully detoxed, because even though, we do a short period of detox for methamphetamines when they come in, to get it completely out of the system and our minds working clearly takes quite some time. And then we're able to engage in mental health services and start treating depression. It's a lot easier to start working on identifying triggers and identifying appropriate coping strategies in a healthy way.
And in your professional opinion, do you believe Tracy made significant progress in wanting to maintain her sobriety?
Yeah, definitely. When she first came in, there was a lot of anger and feelings that she expressed to me along the lines of, feeling like if people would stay out of her business, there wouldn't have been a problem. But as we progressed, she was really able to see that there was a problem, and then to identify what those problems were and how she and her kids needed to have a better life, and what that would look like and what that would include. And so, to start building towards that and choose things like sober living as opposed to returning to San Antonio, choosing to stay in a completely different community, choosing to go to sober living, working towards having to support herself instead of relying on somebody else, changing her environment totally. I mean, there are a lot of changes that she chose to make in order to pursue having that better life for herself and her children.
And did she acknowledge this was the first time she had made such significant changes as opposed to previously?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then after Tracy gets out of rehab, she went to sober living. Did you continue to have any contact with her after that?
Yeah, definitely. She went to sober living at Sarah's house, and that program, I don't have a lot of daily contact with that program, although I am still the director over our 2 recovery residences. And so from time to time, I do come to Sarah's house. And so I'd seen her, of course, once the babies were able to come and visit, I definitely made myself known because I had to come and squish them. And so I was able to come and see them while they were there. And I also am the supervisor for the director of the house. And so anytime there were any concerns or issues, or when things are going well, I like to pop in over there and make sure I know what's going on. And a lot of my clients do stay in contact with me on a fairly regular basis. And I'm in their group chat and things like that at Sarah's house to make sure I kind of can keep on top of what's going on.
Okay. And so whenever you were able to visit with Tracy at Sarah's house when she had the twins, what was your perception on the twins' bond to Miss Bushman?
They definitely loved their mom. Anytime that I was there, they were kind of glued to her physically. They definitely wanted to be in contact with her, all, climbing all over her. It's very obvious that they are bonded with her in a strong emotional way.
And did Tracy seem attentive to the kids and willing to meet their needs?
Yeah, during the times that I was able to be there, I definitely witnessed her doing things that she needed to do. And I was there a few times early on when they were still fairly small. So I saw her doing things like using the food thickeners and doing all of that kind of stuff. And, you know, feedings, a lot of diaper changes, a lot of playing and all of those types of things.
Okay. And do you continue to remain in some sort of contact with Miss Bushman?
Yes, she checks in with me probably a couple of times a month at minimum, when she was able to, really anytime that she makes a next step, whether, you know, or when she's frustrated or when she is worried, but also when good things happen, you know, when she's proud of something she's doing, she'll make contact with me. And so I've been able to go over and see her apartment. She lets me know when she got a new job. You know, and then of course, when things aren't going her way as well, she contacts me just to talk. And so we definitely have had some pretty decent contact over all of the time since she's been here in San Angelo.
Okay, so you're definitely part of her sober support community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and with your training and licensing and work experience, do you believe Tracy is maintaining a healthy, sober lifestyle?
As far as I know, and of course I'm not there 24/7, but I have seen her reach out over and over to her support system during difficult times. I've seen her participate in sober activities. I know that she makes meetings. I know she's involved with her recovery coach. And so it is definitely, she's doing everything that we would recommend to someone who is trying to maintain a sober lifestyle for sure.
Okay, and there's no expectation of you cutting Tracy off or her sober coach, Miss Potts, ending that kind of relationship in the near future. Is that correct?
No, absolutely not. Her recovery coach is able to follow her for several years after she leaves the formal treatment program. And then our alumni often stay in contact with us for years and years and years.
Hang on, we lost our reporter.